So today we are going to be demoing a recipe, and our focus today is beets. And joining me is...
I'm Amber Simister. I'm a student in the Nutrition and Dietetics program at Utah State University.
Okay, let's get going. So today, like I said, we're gonna focus on using beets, and we're making a nice recipe. Can you tell us what that's gonna be?
Yes, we're gonna make homemade hummus with a twist. We're putting roasted beets in the hummus instead of tahini. So we're gonna go over our ingredients in just a minute.
Great. And one thing when we're roasting beets, you can use fresh beets or you can use canned beets. And we're gonna try both of those today and see how they turn out, see what the texture is gonna be, because basically we're gonna blend up all of these ingredients, so if the canned beets turned out a little bit softer, that'll be okay. So tell us about what other ingredients we're using in this hummus.
Yes, of course. So today we're using, of course, our roasted beets. We have our canned and our fresh beets. And then we're using our chickpeas along with that as our base. And then to add flavoring, we're gonna use our olive oil, our salt, pepper, and lemon juice for that.
Great. All right, now we know what our ingredients are. Can you show us how we're gonna prep our fresh beets so we can roast them?
Yes, of course. So we're gonna take our fresh beets, and to start off, we're gonna chop off the ends of them. And these have already been washed and rinsed. So we're chopping off the ends of these. Okay. Then at that point, you can leave the skin on if you prefer, if you wash them really well, or you can do what we're gonna do, you can peel them to roast them. So we're just gonna peel those off.
These aren't the toughest, or these aren't the easiest veggies to peel, are they?
No, they're a little tough, but and there are a couple ways you can do this as well. So I'm gonna show you how I use the peeler. Just get that skin off.
And the only beet available at the store today were these golden beets. So it's fun when you peel them, they show this nice golden color.
Perfect. There is our peeled beet. And then Jenna is gonna show us how we can use a knife to peel our beets.
Okay. You can also use a knife to peel the beet. And what you wanna do is just catch that top of the beet with your knife and get as little as the beet as possible. You'll still get a little bit of it, but this might feel a little bit easier if you're a little more confident in your knife skills. But if you're new to prepping beets, using a peeler is a safe option as well. And if you don't get all the pieces, that's okay, especially if you washed them ahead of time.
So now we're gonna chop our beets. So now that they're all peeled, we're gonna chop them and prepare them for our roasting. So there are a couple ways you can chop them. You can cube them. Today we're just gonna do the slices so they can be similar to our canned beets. So we're just gonna keep it on a flat edge, and then cut them in half. And then we're gonna do thicker slices to kind of mirror the...
And the reason we want these beets to be cut in similar sizes is that they cook more evenly when you cut them that way. If one's a little bit bigger or smaller, it's not the end of the world.
Great. Then once all your beets are cut, you can just toss them into a bowl. And at that point, we're gonna prep them for our roasting. So we'll move them over here.
At this point, we just want to get some oil on the beets. And so I'll just spray some oil on here, and we want to mix them up. And the goal is to cover all of the beets with oil so they look shiny, as you can see on that one. If some of them don't look shiny, you can add a little bit more oil. It's better to start with a little less and have to add more than have too much oil. But these look really good. So we'll just dump these onto the pan. and you want to spread them out so you have one even layer. If they're overlapping, it's not too bad, but you want to get them as even as possible. As you can see, they kind of stick together a little bit, which makes it tricky, but we're almost there. Okay, and then we'll do the same for the canned beets. These might be a little bit trickier just because they're a little wet from the juice in the can, but I think we're getting a good coating. Okay. And then there is some juice at the bottom, so instead of dumping this on, I'm just gonna scoop them out and place them on the pan. Because the goal of roasting is to get out that moisture, so we don't want that extra juice. These last few just want to stay in the bowl. Okay, now that we've got them all on the pan, we want to do the same thing, and since these are canned, they're a little bit more sticky, so you might need to use your other hand to spread them out to get them to that one even layer as well. Again, if there's a little overlapping, it's not a huge deal, but they might roast a little more evenly in that one layer. All right. Now, Amber, that we've got them on our pan, what temperature are we cooking these at, and how long are we cooking them for?
Yeah, so we're going to preheat our oven to 400. We already have that going. We're going to put them in the oven for about 45 minutes. You can check them a little bit earlier, see how they're progressing. You want to be able to stick them through with a fork so they're soft enough. So we're going to put those in the oven and then bring them out.
See what happens.
See what happens.
Let's do it. All right, we're halfway through the timer, and so it's best to come in and just try to flip the beets over so they roast evenly on each side. The darker beets are a little bit harder because they're not quite brown. You can also use tongs, might be a little more exact. Amber, our beets are done. We cooked them in the oven, like you said, at 400, and it took about 40 minutes to cook these. We've got our canned beets over here. We've got our fresh beets right here, and they look pretty similar. Let's give them a try. I'll try the fresh beets. You try the canned beets. Perfect. And we can kind of talk about the texture, the flavor.
Yeah.
How are the canned beets?
Yeah, with the canned, that's not what I was expecting. They have a really good roasted flavor. I mean, it's way different from what I expected, but they are very sweet and they have that nice roasted flavor. So yeah, okay. I think they turned out great.
Great. I would say similarly with the fresh ones, what we're looking for, like you said, that nice roasted flavor. A little of them got a little crunchy, but the one I tried, it was soft, and I think will blend up nicely. How was the texture for this one? Was it pretty soft?
It was pretty soft. It wasn't mushy, but it still had some body to it, but it wasn't very mushy, but it was soft and was a good texture.
Good?
Yes.
Great. So the main thing with roasting the beets is it brings out a little bit different flavor. If roasting the beets feels like a little too much for you, you can always just buy the canned beets. They're already soft, they would blend nicely, and you can make the hummus out of that and just forego this whole step. You'll just miss that roasting flavor a little bit, so that's up to you what you want to do, but based on our tests, it does taste pretty good. So let's see how we make this roasted beet recipe.
Perfect. Yep, so now we're gonna move on to our hummus. So we're gonna start, so we've already washed and drained our chickpeas, so we're gonna add those into our food processor.
And we use just a can of chickpeas for this
Yes.
recipe.
Yes. And then we're gonna do our olive oil. So this recipe calls for 1/4 of a cup. So we're just gonna measure it out here. Get that into our chickpeas. Great. And then next we're gonna season it. So we're gonna do 2 tablespoons of our lemon juice. Gonna add that in. And then we're gonna do our salt and our pepper to taste. So it really is just personal preference. I think just a big pinch in there, a little bit more, really just however much you want. And then same thing with the pepper, just a little pinch of that, however much you feel.
After we blend it all up, if it needs more flavor, could we add in more salt or pepper?
Yes, yes. And once you blend it up and you taste it, if you want more salt, add more pepper. It's really just personal preference. So.
Okay.
Great. And now we're going to put our beets into our food processor. So for your beets, you're going to want about 1/2 cup. And altogether, these look about 1/2 cup.
Those crunchy ones.
Use the side.
If you end up with some crunchy beets like ours, you can always get rid of those.
Yeah.
You'd use some of them. Okay.
Perfect. And then now we're just going to put the lid on and blend it up.
Oh, this one's tricky.
Oh.
There you go. Okay.
Okay, now we're just going to blend these up together. You can really start to see that color come out in them. And once you get about halfway blended, you can open it up and scrape down the sides just to get all of that incorporated. Okay, we're almost there. I think we're just going to do one more scrape of the sides and then we'll call it good.
It's interesting, if you've noticed, as the longer we blend it, the darker that color is getting.
Mm-hmm.
And if you use all red beets, that color is going to be even darker, which is pretty fun.
Yeah, it's a really fun color. So now we finished blending and we've got the consistency that we want. It is also personal preference how much you want to blend it, how little. It really is just up to your taste. If you want it a little bit chunkier, it's up to you. Okay.
Thank you, Amber, for showing us how to make this beet hummus. It seems to me that when you get to the blending part, you got to be a little patient because at first it doesn't seem like it's going to come together, and then look, we've got a great beet hummus to try. Should we give it a try?
Yep, let's try it.
Okay, go for it.
That's really good. You can really taste the roasted beets in there. It really makes a difference. I didn't think it would, but it really does make a difference. That's really nice.
Yeah, you really get that nice texture of all the different ingredients. And I feel like the lemon juice too kind of adds to that flavoring and just brings out all the flavors too.
Yeah.
Okay, great job.
Wonderful. Thank you.